What if the thing you thought that was just a side project ended up opening the door to your dream job? Hello and welcome to the Zach Brown Show, the show that introduces you to old friends one story at a time. I'm your host, Zach Brown. On this episode, I talk with Cassie Tucker of Marketing Happy Hour. We discuss her journey in podcasting and how one dinner created a community of fellow creatives. All that and more coming up. So hi, Cassie. Welcome to the Zach Brown Show.
Hi. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. Cassie and I have known each other for a couple of years now. We met at Lou Mangello's Momentum. And it's funny how the more you connect with people online, you'll see people you probably know or people that are in your network. And so I would see your stuff for a good long time before I'd actually ever met you. And finally I was like, oh, that's that girl from the people you should probably follow box. And got to hear you speak at Momentum. And I was like, this is a really cool person. And I feel like we have a lot of overlap in some of our background. And so I just want to have you on to chat.
Yeah, no, thank you. I mean, that means my marketing and content was working. So I'm happy to hear that.
That's right.
That's amazing. But no, thanks for having me, Zach. Again, really appreciate it. Excited to chat.
You bet. So I think every good story has to start at the beginning. I think there's a Julie Andrews song about that. And so where did you grow up? Where does your journey start?
Yeah, I grew up in Dayton, Ohio, which I know we have a little bit of an overlap there with just where we're from or where family's from. And I lived there until I was probably 9 years old. And then my dad got a job in Florida and I was kicking and screaming, going to a new state, and have essentially been in Florida ever since, give or take a couple different ventures to different states.
Yeah. So, okay. Did not want to leave Florida. You're very happy in the Buckeye State. But so what was it like? What was young Cassie that made you not want to leave Ohio?
Yeah, I think it was friends. It was very social. I had my friends at school, at church, etc. And so I was a 9-year-old. I think I was actually going on 9. I was 8 or 9 years old and I was just set. I knew I wanted to hang out with those friends every weekend and that was it. And so I think it was just going to a new place that I'd never heard of. Tampa, Florida. I'd heard of Orlando. We visited Disney growing up and stuff, but I was like, what is this Tampa place? I don't want to go to Tampa. I don't know anyone in Tampa.
Right.
But we made the move eventually. And I actually ended up probably within a few months, I ended up absolutely loving it. I mean, it just took us meeting new people and it made sense after a while. So,
yeah. So you said you grew up a little bit of a Disney kid. Was that a regular trip throughout the year or?
Yeah. So it's really funny. I grew up mostly a Disney kid because of the films. I loved watching the movies growing up. I was always drawing growing up. So I would always draw the characters and things like that. But we did one vacation to Walt Disney World when I was probably 5 years old. And then we did one trip to Disneyland a couple years later. So those were my only 2 instances of actually being in the parks.
Okay.
But I grew up around just the stories. I mean, they were constantly playing in my house, constantly reading books, just related to the Disney films. And so that's kind of my entry point to the company.
Yeah. So I know you did eventually go on to work for Disney. What was the thing about it that made you want to make that choice? Because I think for me, I thought about it for a long time, but then I was like, I don't know if I want it to become so normal that it's familiar. So almost I kind of wrestle with that. What was it for you that made you decide that you wanted to do that?
Yeah, I think for one, growing up in Tampa, it was so close. So we were annual pass holders once we moved to Florida. And so I was just there all the time. And I started to learn more about the leadership elements, the customer service elements, the business side of the company. And I was very much exploring creativity has always been a through line of my life since I was a kid. And obviously Disney is very much built on creativity and storytelling. And so I think for me, living in Florida, growing up here, going to school in Florida, it was just kind of the thing you were supposed to do. I guess I didn't really have a specific thing that prompted me to apply for the college program. So I actually applied for the college program 3 times before I finally got in. So I just kept going for it. And for some reason, again, I can't think of that kind of crucible moment that pointed me in that direction, but I wanted it so badly enough to apply multiple times. And it was amazing. So I finally got it and I did it. And it was one of the best experiences of my life.
So what was your first job? What did you end up doing?
Yeah. So I worked in front entrance merchandise for Animal Kingdom. So
cool.
This was not to age myself too much. This was 2015.
Okay.
Yikes. When I was in college doing this almost past over 10 years ago. And so I was up in the front. So if you enter the park and look to your right, you'll see strollers and there's a gift shop attached to the stroller area. And so I was in charge of manning strollers. So I lugged strollers and gave them to guests. And then also as you're walking into the park on the left-hand side, there's kind of this abandoned gift shop that's closed up now. I think they use it for storage now. So that used to be open. So you used to be able to pop in there on your way in or out of the park and shop. And then we also had a cart on the right-hand side, which is where Joffrey's is now. So we would essentially rotate in several different spots. But one of the hardest parts was actually on being on stroller duty. And that was a lot of manual labor. I remember getting the job. They're like, you can lift like 20 pounds, right? And I'm like, yeah, like why are you asking? Like, what's going on here? And so that was a lot, but it was amazing. We also had this delivery services program. So back in the day, they used to allow you to ship packages to your resort or to the front entrance to hold.
That was the best
for the end of your day. And so I got put on the team that was essentially in charge of that. So those were my favorite days ever, because what I would do all day is every probably hour, I would do a rotation around the entire park. I got to drive a truck backstage by myself. Cool. And so I would go around backstage and stop at all these different points and grab packages and bring them up to the front. And so that was a really fun project, just because there were times when guests would call and they'd lose a package or they were missing one. And I got to help problem solve for that and help them find their, souvenir that they were trying to go home with. And so that was a really fun opportunity. It wasn't as guest facing, but it also put me in positions to problem solve for guests.
Yeah.
And so it was very challenging. The college program is not for the faint of heart, but it was an amazing experience again. And I still use a lot of the customer service and training principles to this day, just in my work. So
that's cool. I also think of that spot as some of the best pin trading in the whole park. They always have a really great pin board up there.
They do. Yes. And it's funny because not a lot of people, if you don't need a stroller, you're not really stopping there for the most part. Sometimes they'll bring it out a little bit further, so it's a little more obvious, but yeah, always check that. And then sometimes if you go in the gift shop there where they do a lot of the photo pass, also sometimes great pin trading too.
So, I feel like there's two camps. There's the Disney people, and then there's those who have the park down the street. And you, at some point, made the jump.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that.
Yeah. Yes. The elephant in the room. Yeah. So very, very interesting story. So I went to Universal a little bit growing up. I love theme parks in general. I actually grew up going to Kings Island. So that was kind of my entry point to theme parks. So living in Ohio, we would go to Kings Island, occasionally pop up to Cedar Point. And so we were always in the parks growing up, not necessarily Disney or Universal, but we were doing something on roller coasters or whatever. So I did Universal a little bit growing up. Like I said, it wasn't as frequented by my family. Like you said, you're either one or the other. A lot of people are not really growing up doing both, which is so funny to me. But I started podcasting fast forward to 2021. I accidentally fell into it. My friend and I started Marketing Happy Hour, did that for a while. And then I fell in love with the medium. I loved just being able to interview people, meet others, hear their stories, kind of share and get better at asking questions and listening intently and communicating too. And so that became a through line to other opportunities. I worked with some former Disney executives and helped produce their shows and market their shows. And I just fell more and more in love with the medium. So one day I am at my computer and I see this casting pop up randomly. I don't even remember where. It might have been on social media or email or something. And it was for Universal Studios. And I just thought to myself, I'm like, let me just submit something. What better than to do a podcast and talk about my love for theme parks. And at this time I was a annual pass holder at Universal. So I was a lot more integrated in the brand, really fell in love with it. So December of 2023, I submitted this tape where I had to talk about myself, my experience at Universal, some of my favorite things there. And they were looking for super fans of the park, people who would ride anything, who would eat anything, etc. And so submitted the tape. Didn't really hear much. I went to an in-person audition in January, so late January, several weeks later, which was one of the most terrifying things I've ever done in my entire life. Ended up actually auditioning with my future co-host, Brian. So the two of us got in there. We were placed with probably 4 different people, and you could kind of get a vibe with different people, like, oh, this feels natural, or this doesn't feel as natural. It doesn't mean we're not a good fit individually, but
just finding that chemistry.
Yeah, exactly. And I just remember Brian looks at me and he's like, we got this. And
that's the best feeling.
It was perfect. And I just remember thinking, I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to get this, but if I do, I bet you they're going to pair me with this guy. Cause that was like perfect. So long story short, did that, didn't hear anything for 2 more months, show business, classic entertainment industry.
Sure.
March of 2024, I have not admitted this publicly. I was walking into Hollywood Studios and I get a phone call from the Universal Studios team. They're like, hey, you want to come be our podcast host? And I was like, yeah. And so probably about a week and a half later, we did our first shoot, and kind of the rest is history. After that, did a ton of recordings on Epic Universe, was there during kind of the opening phase of that. And it was literally a dream job and the best time of my entire life, and really stretched me professionally for sure.
So I just love these opportunities that come along where you're like, I love it. You said you were literally like, you were just sitting at your desk. It pops up. Nothing happened. You're just about your day. You're in the studios. You get a phone call. Like, it's these little things. You kind of put it out there. You hope it works. If it doesn't, no big. But like when it just kind of shows up when you're just doing your thing, you're not really paying attention. I think that's so, just very special. What would you say about the time, really both between Disney and at Universal? What are some things that you learned that you feel shaped you not only personally, but professionally going forward?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. A lot of things. I think with Disney, it was a very, selfless position. I was getting paid $9 an hour. I was there to make other people's dreams come true, that come to the parks maybe once in their lifetime, that have always hoped that they would make it there, and are just looking to have a great experience. And I was often, especially at Animal Kingdom, I was one of the first people that they interacted with in their day. I was right there in the front entrance. And so I think that just really taught me the power of even just a smile on your face as you're greeting someone, or asking them about their day, or, what brought them there, or what they're most excited about, them having an outlet to just share some of those things. And I think personally, that's taught me a lot about even just relationship building, of just being genuinely curious, or treating people with kindness. I mean, a lot of times we would have bad days. I mean, cast members have bad days all the time, right?
Sure.
Like, you never know what's happening at home, but being able to then go to work and just kind of put all that stuff aside, as hard as it is, and just make someone's day is such a powerful experience. And then the other thing too, especially we received a ton of customer service training. And so just the importance of going above and beyond, and again, treating people with kindness, making their experience as magical as possible. We had a lot of opportunities to give people things for free, or just make their day in even small ways too. And so again, those are some things that I'm able to take into my life today, professionally and personally, of just doing that for clients or the people that I'm working with. Yeah. And then Universal, I think one of the things that, again, is just communication and just how do you tell really great stories. And it really pushed me to do that. I mean, that was the first time I ever recorded podcasts on video. So it was just being able to present and be on it with interviewing people and kind of pulling out some of those stories that guests would want to hear.
Yeah.
We got to interview a lot of different creatives. And so putting my guest hat on, not my podcast hat on, but just knowing like, okay, I'm a fan of the parks. What would I want to know from these people developing these lands and attractions? And so as a marketer, that was a really fun experience because I think storytelling is obviously very powerful, but being able to kind of help weave those stories for our listeners was a cool experience and a really good challenge. And we, of course, had a great time doing it.
And I love what you just said, where you were putting on not your podcaster hat, your guest hat. And I think that that's something like I know doing this, like when I first started out, I would ask people the questions that I wanted to know.
Yeah.
That I thought would be interesting, or I would try to be like, this is what they want to talk about. And as I've gone on, I've really tried to be better about that. Like the podcaster, the interviewer is the first listener. So I'm asking you the questions that I want to be curious, because I feel that if I'm being curious, if I'm asking you about you, trying to know more information, not like lead you into a question that I already know the answer to, it makes it more interesting as a listener. I think it makes it more enjoyable for the person that is my guest.
Yeah.
But I just love that if you approach it from that aspect of like, forget me as like the production box, in that space, go into like, make this entertaining, make this, you keep saying it's my favorite word, story. Like what journey are we going on? Like, let's discover this together. And, for our listener, our friend, our person that's along for us or with us in this journey, it's just natural. It's more enjoyable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And I think one of the things is, as a podcast host, as you mentioned, it's being able to kind of pull yourself out of the situation and put the listener, the one friend, paying attention in the seat, in the driver's seat. But I think too, it's just the power of flexibility as well, in storytelling. So I think a lot of times when I first started podcasting, I went in with this clear vision of what I want to take away from a conversation, what I wanted someone to say and to share. And I think just the power of flexibility is allowing them to also share things, and you kind of tap into that and go deeper in a specific subject you wouldn't have expected. But I think allowing the listener to be on that journey with you is really cool. And you oftentimes uncover things you would have never expected that are really impactful. And I think that's also important going into any sort of engagement like this or medium like this, is just, of course, doing your research, kind of knowing in advance what you want to peel back on and get excited about. And the guests seeing that you're excited and genuinely interested in those things is obviously a really cool thing for them too. Guests love sharing their stories. And so I think just bringing a level of excitement to that is always helpful too.
Don't run off. I'll be right back. If you're like me, you probably wear clothes every day. You wake up and wonder, what am I going to wear today? Same old boring shirt as yesterday? No thanks. But don't worry, I've got you covered. You can order your very own Zach Brown t-shirt today. Visit the Zach Brown Show-shop.fourthwall.com, or you can just check the show notes for a link. In addition to t-shirts, we've got other fun stuff like hats, stickers, mugs, and more. Get your Zach Brown Show gear only on fourthwall.com. This show is sponsored by Thousand Circles, where we believe in the still moments. The ones between the fireworks, the ones that most people rush past. A lantern overhead at Katsura Grill, a quiet corner of a park, briefly yours alone. The hush of a lobby at sunrise, flowers in bloom, light pouring in. These images aren't just photographs, they're reflections of where we've been and the stories that shaped us. And now you can bring those stories home as posters, canvases, or aluminum prints, beautifully crafted pieces that blend into your space but speak straight to your heart. It's a subtle celebration of fandom for an aesthetic life, because each of us has our own story to tell. But when we bring them together, they form something more. 1,000 memories, 1,000 quiet joys, 1,000 circles round the sun. So take a breath, look closer, and bring a little light to your journey. ThousandCircles.com. Scenes from your happy place. Did I miss anything? Really? Wild. Well, let's get back to the show. So something you keep mentioning in this story, you're talking about being a marketer in marketing. I don't think typically, in my experience anyway, because that's all I have, that a lot of people, especially in our age, like grow up going, I want to be a marketer. You hear, I want to be an actor. I want to be a baseball player. I want to be, like a scientist, but you don't usually hear, I want to be in marketing. So what drew you to that in the first place?
Yeah. So I definitely did not grow up wanting to be a marketer. It's funny. Like I'm a person of many random interests. So I actually, growing up, I wanted to be a number of things. One, I told you I was really into drawing and stuff. So I was like, I'll be an animator. I actually went to visit an art school to potentially do that. Didn't end up doing that, obviously. The other thing I was really interested in was another random side tangent was marine animals. So I worked at an aquarium for many years and helped train animals, dolphins included.
That's awesome.
And was actually, so if you've heard of the movie Dolphin Tale 2, got to work on that set. We filmed that at the aquarium that I was working in.
That's awesome.
So also joined the swim team so I could pass a swim test in the future to be a trainer or work in conservation or whatever. Didn't end up doing that, of course, either, mostly because I realized how low the pay was. It's very much a passion job. And I was like, I'm going to have to get 6 jobs to afford to live. So not to say you can't do that, right? However, I just decided to kind of pivot from there. So when I was kind of sitting down and considering what I wanted to do, I knew I loved to write. I knew I loved storytelling. I knew I loved creative. Loved dabbling in kind of the film and television industry, did some projects here and there growing up as well. And so I actually landed on getting my degree in public relations. And the reason is because it's a very broad industry. You can kind of decide to get your degree in that and then pivot into a number of different segments, creatively and not as creatively. So long story short, I got my degree at the University of South Florida in Tampa. And, my first internships were in marketing. So that was kind of a subsect of a space that you'd get internships with. And I fell in love with strategy, doing photo and video shoots and just, again, storytelling for these different brands. So I kind of fell into marketing and I do PR a little bit here and there still. The industry's definitely changed over time. But I've been able to, over the years, kind of flow in and out of my love for copywriting, my love for doing photo and video and production shoots and things like that. So it's a very dynamic space, which I learned from my personality type I needed. I did not want to be sitting at a desk all day. And so it's been an interesting mesh of all these different random passions I've had over the years. And so that's how I fell into it. But I'm still someone on my podcast. I cannot take credit for this, but someone on my podcast said you have to collect the dots before you connect the dots, mostly as it pertains to career.
That's good.
And I've done many years of collecting dots, and I would say I still am kind of collecting those dots. So I'm still trying to figure out what all of that means. I'm a little bit of a Swiss Army knife of marketing, if you will. And so right now I'm in this phase of like figuring out, okay, like what is kind of the industry or what is the focus that I really want to be in? But I've had a lot of fun just kind of dabbling in a number of different spaces, including podcasting, including social media management, et cetera. So it's been a blast.
So I love that. I think the analogy of collecting the dots before connecting them, and I so identify with that. When anybody ever asks me like, what did you do before what you're doing now? And I go, do you want the long version or the short version? And if I walk them through the various jobs, so many of them don't make sense, but there have been lessons that I took along the way and things that helped, that were catalysts that propelled me to the next thing.
Yep.
And it's again, so many of those walking into Hollywood studios and got a phone call or sitting at my desk and got this text, whatever. Yeah. I love those stories. It's those suddenlies. So my question, because I'm now super curious because you talked about the oceanography, the marine biology thing. And what was the moment going from like training dolphins and working on Dolphin Tale 2 to going, okay, like now I'm going to do this. What was the switch?
I think it really was that assessing, future career opportunities, like sitting down with my parents, doing the whole, like, what are the options out in front of you? What's the career outlook for these different roles? It's a very competitive field going into that. And I knew at the end of the day, if I wanted to still do that, I could volunteer or whatever, especially living in Florida, there's a lot of opportunities for that. So I think it really was just like putting on my analytical brain and thinking like, is this realistic for myself? And it would be really tough at the end of the day. And I'm very grateful for that experience that I had. I mean, not only working with the animals and the people I got to work with and everything I got to learn, but also working on a television set. I got to hang out with Harry Connick Jr. and Morgan Freeman on a regular basis. I mean,
that's cool.
That's really awesome. So, but that was always being on film sets for me was always such a cool experience. I absolutely loved the process of it. I loved witnessing it, being a part of it, being on set. And so I just knew if there's a way to do even an iteration of that throughout my career, I'd be really excited. And so, of course, Universal was a big example of that, but just being able to do these different creative productions for different brands and things over time has been pretty cool. But yeah, it was really just putting on my career hat and saying like, what's realistic, what is viable in the future, and just kind of making a pivot decision based on that.
That's right. So you kind of mentioned your podcast and you talked about, marketing and I want to hear about this 3-hour long or whatever, however long it was, this long dinner that you had one night that eventually led to Marketing Happy Hour.
Yes. So my friend Erica and I, who I started the podcast with back in the day, back in 2021. So she and I were always going out to lunch or dinner with friends, and most of our friends were in the marketing space. And we talk about what we're working on and what we're sharing and learning and all of these things. And one night she and I went to happy hour, literally just the two of us. And we're sitting there and we're like, I think we can figure out a way to kind of take this and share these conversations with other people, because we were getting a ton of value out of them. So we figured, if we're getting value out of these conversations, other people would probably get value. So at the time, Clubhouse was really big. I don't know if you remember Clubhouse, but it was really big during COVID. It was essentially this live, I don't even know how you'd explain it, but it's like a live webinar with just audio. It's a very interesting platform. So that had launched. And so we originally launched on Clubhouse actually in April of 2021. So we were right out the gate. Our first few conversations, we had people from massive brands on. I mean, people were just eager to talk to someone and have a conversation about anything. And so for about 3 months, we had our show there. And then within 3 months, we started getting messages, people were saying, I can't make it and I'm bummed and I'm going to miss this conversation. You couldn't record on Clubhouse. So we ended up pivoting in June to podcast format, and neither of us had any clue what we were doing. We listened to podcasts, but we didn't really know how to set one up or whatever. And so we ended up kicking off the show officially then. And we started audio only. We were literally, so Spotify for podcasters, I don't even know if they let you do this anymore, but they used to let you record through the app. So we'd have the app, we'd hold our phones in our hand and like talk into the app. And we would have we'd send someone like a link to join the app as well. That's wild. So it's just like voice messaging back and forth, and we recorded it and turned it into a podcast. If you're really curious, go back 200 plus episodes and listen to our first few. It's really bad. But we went from that to then audio only on Zoom to then pivoting to video via Riverside. So we've gone through a lot of iterations. Eventually my friend Erica had to step away due to her full-time job. I did it by myself for a while. And now I'm back with my co-host, Allie, one of my good friends. And so it's been through a lot of different phases and iterations. But I think that's the beautiful thing about building your own brand, one, but also podcasting too. It doesn't have to, the way that you launch does not have to be the way things are going to be forever. And so just being flexible, I think is important in that space.
I love when you hindsight's just so good looking back at stories and everything, as you're starting, I'm like, why didn't you just start with a podcast? Because it's so from this perspective, clear. And I just love that you guys were just like, just doing it. You're like, we're just going to get it out there. We're just going to,
Yeah.
we have this thing. We know it's valuable. We're enjoying it. We're going to put it out. Like we just talked with Dave Rashoni on this, most recent show. And he was talking about that, the creative aspect. Like I just have to get it out, whether anybody cares or not, it's in me. And so I just love the evolution where you're like, we're going to do this and we're going to pivot and we're going to, what was the moment that or obviously it's probably a sequence of moments, but what was the moment when you were like, this is more than just kind of this fun side project and we can grow this into like a community?
Yeah, I think there's been a few throughout time, like you said. One of the first things that I can really recall happening is getting our first few messages or emails of people saying how helpful the podcast is to them. We from the very beginning, it's been an interview-based show where we're talking to people, we're elevating their stories. And so receiving feedback like that, podcasting is hard. And there's been many times, I'm not going to lie, where I've said to myself, I'm done after next month. Like, this is it. It's not going anywhere. I'm not monetizing. Like, this is not for me. And then I kid you not, like the next day I would receive this really nice email and I'm like, oh, I can't stop now. Like people are here like waiting for these episodes every week. And so it's very cool to see that impact firsthand. And that's why we do it. The why is to help other people, to help them grow in their careers, to help them gain new insights to then take to their jobs and really make an impact in their work. And so that's been really cool. The other thing is, and I am in no means saying this as like a brag or anything, but I have been approached at marketing conferences before and people have recognized me because of the show and thanked me for that. And so again, same thing, just being able to meet people face to face. We did an event in June of 2024 as well in New York City where we collaborated with one of our partners and brought people in person and just got to share and hug them firsthand and all this stuff. And so I think just meeting your listeners firsthand is also really cool. And again, hearing those stories of how the content has impacted them. And it's really awesome to have that. And so I tell people all the time when they want to start podcasts, I'm like, you got to have your why. Like you may make money off this thing, you may not, but at the end of the day, if the money doesn't come, why are you doing it? And there has to be like a really solid foundation for that. And for us, it's always been helping the listener in their career and in their strategies. So
yeah, it's core. I mean, when you find those things that like is the heartbeat of the show, it's your why. If you don't have your why, you're a ship without a compass. Like you can do things and put it out, but what makes it good, what makes it work, it's knowing your why. And I think knowing the one, like you said, being able to see that person that messaged you, that you hugged, you're like, if it's just that one person, you impacted them.
Yep.
And I've had those moments and it's always really cool because I almost go, wow, you're listening? Like the thing that I did, which is literally the nature of what we're doing. We're hoping people listen, but then we discover that moment, you go, oh, it's working. Like that's very, very special. And I don't think that we should ever discount those moments. Humans, really adults, are the greatest players of pretend. We're all out there dressed like big people and pretending that we know what we're doing. And we're just trying to like hide the fact that we're all figuring out along the way and don't want to look dumb in front of anybody else.
Yeah. Yeah.
But like, you're like, I have this thing and I'm passionate about it. I know about it and I'm going to share it with you. And if you want it, that's great. And you're like, I just hope this is good. And your inner 5-year-old is just kind of like, I hope they like this thing. And then when somebody comes back and says, I like the thing, or like success, like what more can we ask for? Monetization. But genuinely like at the core of it, it's so cool when you have that moment when you're like, I care, I did the thing and it landed.
Yep. Absolutely. Yeah. It's been very cool to see. And I think one of the things is for me, I am the target audience and my co-hosts over the years have been the target audience. So thinking about like, what do we need, and being able to fulfill that need with creating something that not only is something that I would want in my career, and the show very much serves me. Like, don't get me wrong, the people that I meet, I mean, I am impacted heavily just by everyone I get to interact with and learn from, and these connections that have led from the podcast. And I would obviously not have gotten the Universal gig without my show. And so it's such a powerful thing. But one of the things for us was just finding that segment in the market to be able to speak to as well. You know, we noticed, for example, a lot of the podcasts for marketing out there were interviewing C-suite executives and the CMOs and the VPs and the people who really made it. But for us, we wanted to elevate our peers, the people who are in the weeds, kind of doing the work and haven't quite, quote, made it yet. They're working to get there, but what are they kind of learning while they're in that space? And so that's been kind of cool too, to carve out that piece in the market. So not only do we have our why and our backing, and yes, we're sharing kind of general marketing strategies and career strategies, but we're also talking to people who don't maybe necessarily always get elevated in that way. So that's been really cool to just help them and get their story and message out there too.
And I think that's what's interesting about this medium. Like I've said it so many times, like everybody that I talk to has been on one or had a podcast, you know, like it's just so prevalent. There's so much information, and people like you and I, you know, in this level, and then, you know, people are going on about Amy Poehler winning an award because and I'm like, well, yeah, but that's cheating, you know, but there's still people with valuable information that, like you're saying, hasn't broken through or quote unquote made it, but they still have something that Amy Poehler could learn from, you know what I mean? They have that thing to share. And it's that I am one step further than you down this one path. So therefore this is value. So I love that you're not just going, oh, well, we have to only hit names. You know what I mean? We have to only feature people that are known or have arrived. Like you're seeing value and sharing it no matter what level that person is on. And I think that's really special that you guys allow that and not just kind of curate and cultivate to where you could easily set yourself up towards like, oh, they only have no names, but you're just sharing information. I think it's really great.
Yeah, no, thank you. It's been fun to meet the people too, who we really connect well with, because the other thing that we've done is we've made sure not only to have them on once, but multiple times, like, hey, let's check in with you and hear what the latest is with the brand that you're working on or whatever it is, or even just, this is kind of a lesson, I guess, in sponsorship, development too. But we work closely with this smaller marketing conference that we talk about all the time, and we get to attend their events throughout the year. And so it's just cool to find those spaces too along the way that we really get excited about, or the people we get excited about, and continuing to take them on this journey with our listener. And I think that builds trust with whatever brand or whatever projects they're working on, not only for us, but for them too. So again, it's just that piece of elevating the guest along the way, I think is really important. Yeah.
And like you said, like there's the recurring aspect and your listener to come along, you know, it's like side characters in a TV show. You're like, oh, that guy showed up again, or that person. Like I remember when they talked about it creates this world, even though it's real, like there's a familiarity. And I think that's what we're all craving in life. We're looking for relationships and friends, and like, not just, oh, that guy was nice. And that was that, where they come back and it's like, oh, like, you know, for you and I met at Momentum 2 ago, and now we've been to, you know, different events after that. And there's like, oh, it's just becoming so much more natural. Like, that's the human experience. It's so great that we're supposed to do this together.
Yep, absolutely. And that's also a testament of, you know, I feel like a lot of shows will do that where they'll have people come back over time, but some shows it's just one new person every week, which I think is great too. But that's the power of podcasting. Is podcasts are, it's like clay or Play-Doh, right? You can shape it into whatever you want it to be. It does not, there's not a one size fits all method or format for podcasts. And I think that's such a cool opportunity for us as creators to be able to create the show that we think is fun and exciting and that we want to create. We get excited to create because it is a lot of work. So you got to be excited to do it. But also something that can mold and shape into the most value for your audience. And so I just love it for that. And we have, 20 plus, 15 plus minutes or however long our show is to kind of get creative and get interesting with the way we're delivering content.
Yeah. I think when you allow yourself to do that, like you talked about earlier with the flexibility of the interview questions, I love the Play-Doh analogy. Sometimes, just being perfectly transparent, I wonder about my own show. I go like, I made it to be where I am the constant. It's not Disney, it's not Church World, it's not sports, it's not movies. It can be whatever I want it to be at any given time. And so sometimes I really second guess myself. And I go, crap, like, should I just lock into one niche and really focus? But I go, oh, but this person isn't in that. And I just find them fascinating, or what they have is valuable and I want to share it. And so it's just kind of like you're saying, I'm excited about it. So hopefully, and you're excited about what you're talking about. I may have no clue about marketing, but you do. So I've had you come on and share about it. Like, I think people just, they gravitate towards passion, whether it's something that they like connect with or not. There's something about it. You're like, man, I don't know what they're talking about, but they sure are excited.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And that's the cool part about doing interviews too. It's, you can have whoever you want on your show and just hear about their specific experience. I mean, we've had guests from, trying to think of an example, National Geographic, for example. Yeah, I worked with animals, but I don't know half of the animals or the things that they're showcasing in their magazines and stuff on a regular basis. So again, to be able to not only learn from their strategies, but also just what's happening with their brands and the industry that they're working in is really kind of cool. So it is for the listener, it's for the audience, but it's also for me. Like, I'm learning so much, and it's just exciting. And I look forward to meeting new people and to hearing their stories in that way. So, but yeah, you absolutely have to be excited to do it, because again, if you get into podcasting for the first time, you will be rudely awakened to how much work is put into it. But if you are excited by it and you have that why as your foundation, you'll be good. Like, just keep plugging along. But you have to have those things, or else you fizzle out pretty quickly, unfortunately.
Oh, look, a commercial. Hey, listener, if you've been enjoying the show and want to be a bigger part of what we're building here, I'd love to invite you to join the Patreon. It's a great way to support the podcast, and in return, you get access to some fun stuff like behind-the-scenes updates, bonus content, and even some one-of-a-kind swag like stickers, buttons, and a members-only t-shirt. It helps keep the lights on around here, the conversations flowing, and making this thing something special. So if you're in, come grab your spot. From the balcony to the VIP lounge, each tier brings you deeper into the world of the show. Just head to patreon.com/The Zach Brown Show. I'll see you on the inside.
Hi, you having a great time?
Looking for the perfect place to unwind after a long day? Welcome to the Brass Mallard, your neighborhood escape for great food, craft brews, and unforgettable vibes. At the Brass Mallard, we're all about the unexpected. No sports on the TV, just great conversation, delicious food, and an atmosphere that feels like home. From barbecue chicken and perfectly grilled steaks to our famous house-made rosemary bread, every bite is packed with flavor. Oh, and did we mention? We serve schnapps. Why? Honestly, we're not sure, but it's here, it's tasty, and we're all about it. Located at the corner of Laverne and Grady, we're right where your good times begin. Gather your friends, pull up a chair, and hear stories you've definitely heard before. The Brass Mallard, where flavor takes flight. Enough of whatever that was. Back to the show. Something that I love hearing is people's like stories, the lessons that they took from the jobs, the things that have kind of like, I always call it the Batman utility belt of wisdom. So what is a mistake, or maybe a couple mistakes, lessons that you made early in your career or even recently that you, looking back, are so thankful that they've happened, and you're like, this is now like, this is with me when I'm making decisions?
Yeah. Oh man. There's so many. I think if I were to call out a few different ones, I believe it or not, since I podcast now, I used to be very quiet. And even early on in my career, I was very much in my shell. It took many years of forcing myself to speak and to podcast and everything that brought me out of that. But I think for me, especially early on, it was not advocating with leaders for what I wanted or even sharing with other people what I was looking for. So one thing I've learned now, fast forward, is if you are looking for a specific opportunity to work in a specific industry or on a project of mind, share that with other people. Tell other people that that's what you're looking to do, because you can't really be thought of for those things unless you share it first. So that goes for if you work a job and you need to share those goals with your leader so that they can think of you for those projects. But also if you're running your own business, same thing. Like, hey friend, these are some of the things that I'm looking to do, and just share it with them. And people will oftentimes, as things come up, refer back to that. That's always the hope. So yeah, I think in terms of just kind of doing that due diligence of always reflecting and getting out of my bubble, if you will, of I'm just always working, always churning out things and not taking time to sometimes reflect and think about it. But for me now, I have to be very intentional about taking time to really sit down. Okay, this is what's happened the last 6 months. This is where I want to go. And then who do I need to talk to or share this goal with in order to make that happen? Yeah. I am definitely not perfect at this. And I'm trying to get better at it. I feel like in the last 2 weeks, really, I've like started to really push on that. Yeah. But I think that's the thing I would say is really be intentional and in tuned with yourself and your goals, and then not being afraid to share that with other people. Yeah.
And I think it goes back to like, there's that part of us that are inherently like, we're feeling we can't ask for help. Like like, oh, if I tell them I need help, then I don't look like I know what I'm doing, or like, I don't want to be a bother. I need to, I can just figure this out. Like I'm going to hustle. And there's a bit of, that's admirable to a point, but just be like, how much faster would I've gotten that done if I just said, could somebody help me with this?
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny. Like I'm not good at asking for help at all. I'm not good at asking for that or for money. So, you have to, I think that's, I guess, another lesson that I've learned is know your worth, like even beyond to the time that you put into something, like what is the value that you're adding to people, and don't be afraid to ask for a little bit more than that number that you're comfortable with. Yep. I'm talking to myself when I say that. So that is one thing. And then also, ask for help. Like we can't carry things on our own personally and professionally. And so don't be afraid again to share with other people in your circle, like, hey, this is what I'm looking to do, or, hey, this is a challenge that I'm facing. And do you have any resources or tips for me? Mm-hmm. And that's what's so powerful, I think, about being in communities like what Lou has built and other people in our space, that it really is a safe area to be able to ask for that kind of support, but not forgetting to do that.
It's so important. I mean, even like you said, the value thing, the money thing, like someone that we both know asked me to do a project, and I was like, yeah, awesome. Let's do it. And he basically he was like, how much did you charge? And I was like, I don't know. Would and I like, would this be okay? And he turns around and looks at me just dead in the face and goes, that's insulting to yourself. And I was like, whoa. He goes, you're way too low. He's like, let's talk. But he's like, let me help you get a better number that's good for both of us. And I was like, thank you. It's like that aspect where I'm like, I it's not that I don't value it, but I don't think we see ourselves how other people see us necessarily in a number of ways. But I think like we've been along the whole journey. So for us, the things that we can just do, and you're like, okay, well, that'll take me like 20 minutes. And so then I should only ask this much. And they're like, no, like this is going to get me A, B, and C. You're like, oh, this is terrible. I tossed it in ChatGPT the other day. I was like, this is my situation. I'm having a hard time asking for money. I don't know how to charge this. This is a friend of mine. And the chat gave me a pep talk that basically was like, this is what this person's getting from it. And you don't think that they can pay for this? And I was like, thank you, robot. It's funny, like getting to that place of like asking for help and going, I can also, like, I'm worth this.
Yeah. Yeah. It's also like being told that you should be charging more. You're like, oh, like, man, I should have charged more. You're right.
Yeah.
Like I should have asked for more in the first place. And that's also just a practical lesson. And you can always go down, you can't go up. And so I can't remember who said this, but this like really challenged me. It was something along the lines of, what do you think this product is worth? And then now double it. And I'm like, double it. Like I could never do that, you know, to someone. And so, but I think it's just that confidence again. And like, you have to own your number, you have to own what you're offering and what you're providing. And that takes time and experience, but it's important because how do you expect to grow your business? How do you expect to just grow an impact and authority over time unless you really have that confidence in what you do?
Yeah. And I think so many of us, I say this so often, it's also becoming like part of my like brand, I guess, is we lead from that inner 5-year-old. And I just feel like if we were to look back and at that, you know, sit our 5-year-old self down and be like, this is what I'm doing, they would be so thrilled. Like genuinely would be very impressed. So you, Cassie, if you could give your inner 5-year-old, like set little 5-year-old Cassie down and share a piece of like, you can't talk about the future because that's, we're gonna mess up the whole Back to the Future time continuum. But if you're looking at your little 5-year-old self and just gave some advice for the start of your career, what would you say?
Oh man. You know, it's really funny. I kind of did this practice in therapy the other day. So it's
nice.
Like, it's so funny. Like, you know, your therapist or counselor is always like, you know, think of your younger self and what would you tell them? I think from a professional front, I would say that, you know, simply hang in there. Like it's all going to make sense down the road. I think especially running your own business, being an entrepreneur, a contractor, freelancer, whatever you want to call yourself, there's a lot of bumps in the road. I mean, being an adult and a human in general, there's a lot of challenges that come, right? But I think just telling her like, hey, it's going to be good. Like all this stuff is going to make sense eventually. Just keep plugging away. Like, own your impact, own your value, just step forward in that confidence. And I think it's really important and something I still remind my adult self to this day. So, that's probably, it's pretty simple, but I think that's something that I would just remind my younger self.
It's something that the more that I think through that lens of like, you know, if we would all treat each other as if we were talking to 5-year-olds, we'd be so much more kind, be so much more, I think, encouraging, shows a lot more grace to one another. But how much happier, or at least just at peace we would be if we were talking to ourselves and treating ourselves with the same grace, compassion, forgiveness, like patience that we would, to be like, hey, like, I know this is not fun right now, but it's going to be okay. Or like, hey, you made that thing. Like, that's awesome. Way to go. You know, like the way you put up a kid's drawing on a refrigerator, be like, you know, it's outside of the lines a little bit, but you made that. Did you have fun? Like, great. Life would be just, I think, so much better.
Yeah, no, for sure. You got to treat yourself with that kindness too. I mean, I think of holding on to those regrets and shame and, oh, I made mistakes. Like icky, half the time other people do not care about half of that stuff, or they think about it for 2 seconds and they've moved on. And so I think shedding that weight will allow you to move forward. We're getting very deep and psychological here, but like you can't hold on to that stuff. And again, I'm talking to myself because I hold myself to very high standards, and I can sometimes be a perfectionist and things, but it's like, things happen, do your best, but keep pushing forward. Like all of that stuff is going to make sense. You're going to look back one day and realize like, wow, I made that mistake because it brought me to where I am today. And like, thank God that happened, or else I wouldn't have learned that powerful lesson. So, I'm a big believer everything happens for a reason. And so just keep plugging along and you'll see all those dots start to connect. You'll see things come together, and just have courage and faith through that. So
yeah, love it. So outside of Marketing Happy Hour, what are you working on right now that you are the most passionate about?
Outside of marketing happy hour. Oh, okay. So I love photography. I got my first camera when I was 15 years old, and I've just been kind of a hobbyist over the years, and it's been cool randomly to get phone calls from friends or family members and do photo shoots or work with different companies and shoot content for them. So I would say towards the end of last year and this year, I'm really focused on getting better at photography. I got a film camera, so I'm learning how to do that. And so that's been a really cool passion project for me. And it's something that, yes, it's monetized sometimes, but it's really my outlet to just try and test new things. Yeah. And so I'm using that as my space to kind of play and try different things out. So that's really my biggest focus, I would say, is just getting better there, getting better at editing and shooting and all the things. And so it's been really fun so far.
That's cool. I think like it's weird being creators is a weird thing because you like put so much time and resource and energy into a thing. And then you're like, I have to go make something else to de-stress from the thing that I'm passionate about. And it's like these, and then you put time and resource into this and you're like, okay, great. And then you go back. It's like just putting out the creative, like it's just cool. But I love that. I think your pictures are amazing. Anytime you post them, I'm like, these are really good. So way to go.
Thank you. Thank you. I will say, with that, and same with anything professional or even personal that you're trying to work on, is surround yourself with people who are better than you. That is the biggest thing. I'm so grateful to have some really amazing friends who are incredible at photography and way better than I am. And just being able to kind of be humble in front of them and say, hey, what do you think? Like, what would you change? What edits do I need to make to this? And just allowing yourself to be adaptable there. Yes, it's more of a hobby, but it's also something I want to grow and learn in, and seeing that firsthand is very rewarding. So, I think surround yourself by people who are great at what they do and soak up every bit of information that you can that's possible.
Yeah. So you've worked with the Dolphins and Harry Connick Jr. You've worked Disney and Universal and photography and big time execs in the marketing thing. Is there a dream project that you haven't done yet, but you're really wanting to, make happen?
Oh gosh, I get asked this all the time, and I honestly don't have a specific answer, but I think more things in the production space. I would love to just do more really cool projects like that and just be a part of something, whatever that looks like. But I think at the end of the day, like as long as I'm working with really awesome people doing really cool things, I'm cool with that. So again, I'm still trying to figure out what that big next dream is. Universal was definitely a dream come true, even if I didn't know it at the time. But we'll see. I'm kind of figuring out what that looks like next. So stay tuned. I'll keep you posted.
I love it. So I know where I can find you, but our friend, the listener that's been, just finding about this amazing person named Cassie Tucker, how can they get a hold of you? How can they follow along all the things that you're doing?
Yes. So LinkedIn is one of my favorite platforms. So Cassie Tucker on LinkedIn. Instagram is my second favorite, Cassie Joy Tucker. And then if you want to learn about my podcast, marketinghappyhr.com.
And what happens? Let's just say that they are just finding this marketing happy hour just so amazing, but they want to go deeper. How can they get more involved?
Yeah. So we just launched MHH Collective, which is a just small community for marketers and entrepreneurs looking to, again, grow in their strategies and in their careers. And so join us. We have monthly calls with really awesome experts and just have a lot of resources available to people in there. So if you hit the collective tab on the site, you'll be able to learn more about that. Yeah, I appreciate you asking about that.
You bet. And I'll include links for all of these magical things in the comments below and whatever device you're listening or watching this on.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Zach, for having me. I appreciate it.
You bet. I had a great time. Once again, I want to thank my guest, Cassie Tucker, for being on the show. I encourage you to check out her podcast, Marketing Happy Hour, as soon as we wrap up our show today. And if you're in marketing and are ready to grow your careers, connect with peers, and build a brand of influence, be sure to sign up for the MHH Collective. Links are in the show notes. I also want to thank you, my friend and listener, for taking some time with me. If you're enjoying the stories you hear on the show and would like to continue the conversation, you can sign up for my email newsletter. Just click the link in the show notes. The Zach Brown Show is hosted and produced by me, Zach Brown. It is engineered and co-produced by Corey Jess and is part of the Zach Brown Network. Our album art is by Luis Lopez. Our catchy outro music is Nurse by Corey Jess. You can listen to the full song on Spotify and iTunes. Follow The Zach Brown Show on Facebook and Instagram. And finally, you can help support the show by signing up to be a Patreon member. Memberships start as low as $5 a month with perks like buttons, stickers, sneak peeks at upcoming projects, and even an exclusive shirt. Sign up right now at patreon.com/The Zach Brown Show. That's all for this episode. I hope you come back for the next one. Until then, take care.